but you got to get them to believe to achieve. And so, with that, it was really about sitting down with them, going through the methodology itself, picking it apart, what they appreciate, what they don't, and then getting them to coach to their combined and the sales methodology tactics.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Leadership Stories. We got Dave Elsner on the line with us today. And as you all know, probably already by hearing any other episodes that are out, we're not here to talk for an hour and a half. We're not here to pontificate over points. We want Dave to get right into a story about his leadership experience so that you can catch some good points and really take it home for yourself and use it in the trenches. Now, quick intro on Dave here. He's the tech sales coach and also an official partner with Vengresso. So if you're anybody who's a leader in the LinkedIn space, you've heard of Vengresso, and thus you should already know about Dave. But if you don't, it's going to be a welcome treat for you. And if you're especially in the sales realm, if you're especially in the tech realm, I really want you to listen up to him today and also look him up on LinkedIn. So go ahead and open up your LinkedIn while you're listening to this, and want you to look him up. It's Dave, D-A-V-E, last name Elsner, E-L-S-N-E-R. Okay. If you're on the phone, look it up on his on your LinkedIn phone app and really have him open so that you can get a context as to who he is. And as for the rest of the bio, go ahead and read that in his LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Dave here, and he's going to walk us through a story about him and leadership and something that was really impactful to him. So go ahead, Dave. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, awesome. So one of the lessons I learned early on was about adopting sales training. Early in my career, I had some very impactful sales training for me and my teams as a sales manager. That really helped boost mine and their careers. And so when I got my first sales VP promotion, one of the first things I wanted to do is put a good sales methodology in place. And, I made the mistake of not getting the salespeople involved in the evaluation process. And so we made a decision to go with customer-centric selling, something that I strongly believe in the methodologies and how well it works. But like I said, we didn't get input from salespeople. And so when we got to our first class of about 30 salespeople, I had some salespeople that really gave us a hard time throughout the program. And, the reality of it is they were our top performers and they didn't think they needed this sales training. And so lesson learned, you want to make sure that everybody understands ahead of time and buys into the program. And so what we did was we asked those people to come back to the second session as coaches. And so we got them involved in the sales training itself, where they were helping us train our new sales reps. And it made a world of difference for them, not only adopting it, but reinforcing it with the new sales team members that were around them. And so that's my short story is make sure you have buy-in from your sales leaders and your best salespeople before introducing anything. Get them involved in the customization of it, what works and what doesn't work, the use case scenarios, and ultimately get them involved in the coaching and leading the new reps into this methodology.
That's amazing. This whole, not only on the front end of keeping them involved, but also on the back end, you mentioned, of keeping them involved in the coaching. Was that something that you just had to develop out of need, or was that something you had heard about that had happened that could really help you guys?
Yeah, it was really a leadership team thing. We got done with the sales training, realized those top performers weren't going to adopt or adapt, so that we had this common language. And so, it was an idea of one of my sales leaders was, hey, let's get them more involved in the future classes to make it more effective and to get them to buy in.
That's really brilliant, because anybody who's coming in, or maybe someone who has been in the company but maybe not doing as well as the top performers, they already know that, well, these guys are the top performers. So if they're adopting it, then everyone else is going to follow suit. So I think that's incredible. From the front end side of things, when you say involve them, can you walk me through a picture of the process where how far in advance, what does that actually look like from the trenches?
Well, I mean, because these people had already been through the class, and let me say first, we've all been through 20 different sales training classes in our careers. And salespeople usually pick up one or two things. Mm-hmm. But the importance of them adopting the entire methodology, goes to driving the effectiveness of it. And therefore, if it's only bits and pieces, you may see slight improvements, but you're going to see great improvement if they all adopt and follow it, because then they learn from each other. And so it really comes from that foundation of learning for each other. These sales leaders were mentors to these new salespeople. And so we needed to put them into a position of, being that coach and that mentor. But you got to get them to believe to achieve. And so, with that, it was really about sitting down with them, going through the methodology itself, picking it apart, what they appreciate, what they don't, and then getting them to coach to their combined and the sales methodology tactics.
They got to believe to achieve.
Yes.
That's
true for all salespeople.
Indeed. And I should probably get that painted on my own wall. I feel like that should be the banner behind my head here. Got to believe to achieve. Tell me then, in the world of doing tech sales today, where so many more people are gone remote, even prior to the pandemic, I guess tech has been ahead in that world, but especially after the pandemic, how do you in your world, as you go around various companies and support them on sales training, how do you see current managers implementing this well? Or are there certain landmines that you might say be cautious of? Because we're not all sitting in cubicles just 3 feet apart from each other, hearing each other on the calls and practicing these things in real life. So how would you go about advising them today?
Yeah. So first of all, I'll say that there is a huge need for remote selling training. I probably do 6 video calls a day, and people just aren't set up. The video quality isn't good. What they present and how they present isn't good. Even the lighting, the microphone, but at the end of the day, it really boils down to the presentations. A lot of people are still doing PowerPoint or web-based presentations that aren't interactive. They don't include the person on the other end. And so, I would say a vast majority of salespeople out there still need to refine and improve their skills around social and remote selling.
Social, and I'm just taking notes here too. Social and remote selling. Understood. So social would be the side of bringing a little bit more visibility and air cover through maybe channels like LinkedIn and other places, just being multifaceted, I guess, to build the reputation and rapport. Yes. And then from a remote selling standpoint, once again, just to reiterate your point here, instead of just doing a one-way monologue of going through a slide deck, when you say involving the other party, what does that look like? Say, for instance, on a Zoom call, what does that look like?
I think, any good salesperson asks a lot of questions. They're doing more listening than they are talking. And diving right into a presentation or a pitch is not the way to go. You have to understand their goals, what they want to accomplish, and keep them involved. Otherwise there's too many other things happening on my screen here that are going to distract me from what I'm doing.
Right.
And I noticed that with even customers, they get distracted by things. And so you've got to make it a two-way dialogue. It can't be a presentation or a pitch, wrapping up with, are you ready to go? And so they need to put a lot more effort into how they handle remote, and from a social perspective, I look at it this way. I'm on LinkedIn as kind of like going to a convention. When I go to conventions, and they're starting to come back now, thank God, I run into a lot of people and have a lot of great conversations during that convention, which turns into opportunity for me. And I see, things like LinkedIn is the same way. I'm starting conversations with people that is turning them into prospects. And so, but we leave that convention or we leave that LinkedIn and then we're on a video call. And so you still have to do your sales due diligence, through the process of understanding goals and outcomes, and care more about them as a buyer than you do yourself as a seller.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And these points that you mentioned are not necessarily specific to our era today in a heavily Zoom or heavily, say, remote work environment. They have always probably been true, right, in the sales world, to be able to ask more questions, to involve the other party, make sure that they feel heard. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but that's how I've understood things so far.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely has always been that way. It's just our first sales call is usually on video now. And so you have to adapt. I love things like whiteboard tools where both of you can interact with the presentation, where you can use a pencil to highlight something and pause and ask a question. And so, there's a tech stack out there for remote, and people need to start getting on board because we're doing a lot more remote selling than ever before.
Indeed. Indeed. Do you feel that as you go around the tech world of things, are people continuing to struggle, or would you say this is a situation where they don't even realize what they're doing wrong yet? How do you see the horizon currently?
I think they don't even realize. I mean, I have been on more video calls in dark, shady rooms with the window behind them, and you can barely see their face. And immediately they pull up their PowerPoint to pitch what it is that they have to offer without asking questions. And so, and I think it's because of the remote stance and how we were taught to use video years ago. It was a presentation platform, when in reality we need to adopt it as a collaboration platform.
Wow, that is I feel like everything that you're telling me should be something that maybe a company like Zoom itself should be promoting in order to really enhance the utility of it, right? And maybe they are. Zoom, if you're listening to this as a company, forgive me if I don't know about it, but I feel like it really should be something that even these platforms themselves should be helping companies on, because if you can really contribute not just the platform, but the ability to use it correctly and increase revenue that way, I feel like that would be a natural fit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to create more adoption for them.
Yeah, indeed. All right, guys, once again, head over to LinkedIn, look up Dave here, Dave Elsner. Once again, last name Elsner, the tech sales team coaching and training. And he's also an official partner with Vengresso. If you don't know the name, look that up as well. They are probably one of the more robust suites of info there. So, of course, you can't go to Vengresso and get all the coaching that Dave provides, which is why I want you to go to Dave's. But nonetheless, look him up, and really want you to get ahead on really understanding what it looks like for a coach to come in and really help you adopt new sales training. And to his point today, want to make sure that people are involved, but also involving your top salespeople to reinforce and become mentors to the people who want to continue to reinforce that throughout the company. Okay, guys, good lessons today. Dave, hang on with us, but I'll wrap this up here. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.